Chris Daniels was just like any other 15-year-old boy, full of dreams and hopes for the future. He lived in a cozy neighborhood where the sound of laughter echoed in the streets, and friends gathered to play basketball at the park. Chris loved spending time with his father, who shared stories of adventure and taught him how to ride a bike. On that fateful day, however, everything changed in an instant. The moment Chris received the phone call that shattered his world, he felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath him. His heart raced, and confusion clouded his mind. He couldn't understand how life could be so cruel, taking away his father in a sudden car accident. As he wandered the streets aimlessly, tears streamed down his face, leaving him feeling both lost and alone. The vibrant colors of the world around him blurred into a haze as he fought to control his emotions. The laughter of children no longer brought joy. Instead, it reminded him of what he had lost. In that moment, Chris was facing a life-changing event that would test his strength and resilience, unaware that help and comfort were just around the corner. The moment Chris received the news, time seemed to freeze. He sat on his bed with the phone clutched tightly in his hand, the words echoing in his mind. "Your father was in an accident." It felt surreal, as if he were listening to a scene from a movie instead of facing reality. His heart pounded violently in his chest, and disbelief washed over him like a cold wave. How could this happen? Chris stared blankly at the colorful posters of basketball stars on his wall, memories flooding back of laughter and shared moments. He couldn't comprehend how the world could keep spinning when his life had just shattered into pieces. Each passing second felt like an eternity, dragging him deeper into a void of sorrow. After hanging up, he found himself wandering outside aimlessly, his footsteps heavy and uncertain. The familiar sights and sounds of his neighborhood were now tinged with sadness. Children played nearby, blissfully unaware of his heartbreak. Chris felt an overwhelming urge to cry but forced himself to hold it in. As he trudged along, he battled with the initial shock, a swirling mix of grief, confusion, and fear painting his every thought. As Chris continued to wander the streets, a heavy fog of sadness surrounded him. Each step felt like he was trudging through thick mud, weighing down his body and spirit. The vibrant sights and sounds of his neighborhood, the laughter of children playing, the aroma of fresh pastries from the nearby bakery, only deepened his sense of isolation. It was as if he were trapped in a bubble, watching life unfold around him while feeling utterly disconnected. He glanced at a group of friends riding bikes, their carefree smiles contrasting sharply with the turmoil inside him. Memories of sharing ice cream and playing catch with his father flooded back, moments that now felt painfully distant. Chris longed for those times, wishing he could turn back the clock to when everything felt safe and secure. With every passing moment, the weight of his loss pressed harder on his heart. Tears threatened to spill, but he swallowed them down, feeling that showing weakness was not an option. Instead, he buried his emotions deep within, hoping that eventually they would fade away. As he walked on, Chris grappled with feelings of fear and uncertainty about a future without his father, lost in a world that suddenly felt so lonely. The early morning sun peeked through the trees, casting a gentle glow on the quiet streets of Chris's neighborhood. The air was crisp, filled with the fresh scent of dew on the grass, yet it felt heavy and oppressive to him. Birds chirped cheerfully, a stark contrast to the storm swirling inside Chris. As he walked, he noticed the world moving at its usual pace, cars passing by, people jogging with friendly smiles, and neighbors watering their gardens, while he felt trapped in a slow-motion reel of his own grief. Each step echoed with a sense of longing, as if the ground beneath him could somehow anchor him to happier times. The sidewalks where he used to ride his bike now seemed foreign. They were reminders of laughter and connection that felt so far away. As children played nearby, their giggles rang out like distant bells, amplifying his isolation. Chris paused for a moment, taking in the colorful flowers blooming along the curb, yet their beauty felt dull to him. He was engulfed in his sorrow, each vibrant detail around him serving as a reminder of how drastically life had changed. The bustling world continued, but Chris felt like a ghost wandering among the living, searching for something, anything, to ease his aching heart. As Chris continued to wander, A sleek black Porsche slowed down near him, catching his attention. Behind the wheel was none other than James Dean, the famous actor whose charisma and charm made him a household name. With his tousled hair and signature leather jacket, he looked as striking in real life as he did on the silver screen. Intrigued by the sight of a celebrity, Chris's sadness momentarily faded, replaced by a flicker of curiosity. James had just stopped for coffee at a nearby cafe. He was in town for a film shoot but had taken a moment to enjoy the peaceful morning before diving into his work. As he noticed Chris sitting alone on the curb, tears streaming down his face, his heart went out to the boy. James had always been drawn to those in need. Something about Chris's distress tugged at him. With genuine concern in his eyes, James rolled down the window and called out, "Hey there! Are you okay?" The kindness in his voice broke through Chris's fog of grief. James could see how lost Chris was and felt compelled to help. "Want to take a ride with me?" he offered, hoping to offer some comfort to the boy in pain. As James Dean observed Chris sitting alone on the curb, the sight tugged at his heart. The young boy's tear-streaked face and trembling shoulders revealed a deep sadness that resonated with James, who had faced his own struggles in the spotlight. He could see that Chris was in distress, lost in a world of pain that no child should have to bear. James's instinct to help kicked in, and he felt compelled to reach out. He remembered all too well the times when a simple act of kindness made a difference in his life. With a gentle smile, he leaned closer to his car window, his voice soft and inviting. "Hey there! Are you okay?" he asked, genuine concern etched on his face. Chris looked up, surprised by the sudden attention from someone so famous. The warmth in James's voice broke through the haze of grief surrounding him. For a moment, the weight of his sorrow lifted slightly as he found himself meeting the actor's compassionate gaze. James could sense Chris's vulnerability, and without hesitation, he offered, "Want to take a ride with me?" It was a simple invitation, but for Chris, it felt like a lifeline being thrown into turbulent waters. Chris stared at James Dean, unsure if he had heard correctly. The invitation felt surreal, a momentary escape from the heavy burden resting on his shoulders. "A ride?" he echoed softly, still trying to comprehend the reality of the situation. James nodded, his warm smile encouraging Chris to take a chance. With a hesitant but hopeful heart, Chris approached the Porsche. The car's sleek design and polished exterior gleamed in the sunlight, but it wasn't the car that pulled him in. It was the kindness in James's eyes that offered a glimpse of comfort amid his pain. As Chris settled into the passenger seat, he felt a flicker of excitement mixed with anxiety. James turned on the engine, and the soft rumble filled the air, creating an unexpected sense of safety. "Let's go for a drive," he said, as they pulled away from the curb. The world outside began to blur, and for a moment, Chris let himself forget about everything else. The wind whipped through his hair, and he took a deep breath, feeling the tension start to melt away. In that instant, riding alongside a legend felt like a small reprieve from his sorrow, a chance to breathe and find solace in an unexpected friendship. As the Porsche glided along the winding coastal road, Chris felt a rush of fresh air fill his lungs, mingled with the scent of the ocean. The sun sparkled brightly on the waves, casting shimmering reflections that danced like tiny diamonds on the water. Each curve of the road revealed breathtaking views of cliffs and beaches that were normally a source of joy for him, yet today they felt distant and surreal. The beauty of the scenery contrasted sharply with the storm raging within his heart. James drove at a moderate pace, allowing Chris to soak in the surroundings. Despite his sadness, Chris couldn't help but feel a hint of peace as he watched seagulls soar gracefully above and boats bobbing gently in the distance. For those brief moments, he was captivated by nature's splendor, a world where everything seemed alive and vibrant, unlike the numbness that had taken hold of him. Yet, every wave crashing against the shore also echoed his pain. Memories of laughter shared with his father at those same beaches flooded back, tugging at his heartstrings. Chris felt like he was caught between two worlds, one filled with beauty and life, and another shadowed by his heartache, seeking solace in one while grappling with loss in the other. As they drove along the coast, a comfortable silence enveloped Chris and James, allowing both of them to reflect in their own ways. The rhythmic sound of the waves crashing against the shore filled the air, creating a soothing backdrop for Chris's thoughts. Each breath he took felt easier with the wind gently brushing against his face, yet beneath that calm exterior, his heart was heavy with memories. In those moments of quiet, Chris found himself lost in thoughts of his father. He remembered their fishing trips at dawn, where laughter mingled with the salty breeze, and nights spent stargazing while sharing dreams. Each memory tugged at his heart in a bittersweet way, reminding him of the joyful moments that had now turned to longing. While he felt comforted by the beauty of the coastline surrounding him, vulnerability washed over him like the tide. It was as if each wave carried away a piece of his sorrow while simultaneously deepening it. Chris realized that this ride was not just about escaping his pain. It was also a moment to acknowledge it, an opportunity to embrace both comfort and vulnerability in a world that felt so different now. As the Porsche glided smoothly along the coastline, Chris felt the cool wind gently caress his face and hands. The rush of air was refreshing, whispering sweet nothings that momentarily soothed his troubled heart. He glanced down at his hands, which had been trembling with a mix of fear and sorrow. But now, as he held onto the door, the wind began to calm them. It felt as if nature itself was embracing him, offering peace amidst the chaos inside. The world blurred outside the window, a beautiful mosaic of blue waves crashing against rocky cliffs, and golden sunlight illuminating patches of sand. With those stunning visuals in front of him, Chris felt a brief moment of release as he breathed in deeply. Each fresh inhalation filled him with a sense of life and possibility, allowing some tension to dissolve into thin air. For the first time since hearing the devastating news, a fragile sense of peace enveloped him like an old blanket on a chilly night. In these fleeting moments, Chris found himself yearning to hold on to this tranquility, even as he grappled with the harsh reality around him. The ride wasn't just an escape. It became a sanctuary where he could experience both vulnerability and serenity at once. As they drove, Chris felt a shift within him, a pull towards deeper thoughts about the loss he was experiencing. His father's absence loomed large in his mind, and he wrestled with feelings of sorrow and confusion. Memories of their shared moments, teaching him how to ride a bike, the late-night talks, and the advice on facing life's challenges, flooded back, intertwining with the reality that those times were now gone forever. In this quiet space beside James, Chris found himself grappling with the responsibilities that now lay before him. He pondered what it meant to grow up without his father guiding him through life's complexities. Would he be able to make the right choices? The thought filled him with both trepidation and determination. He understood that he had to learn to navigate the world on his own, facing hurdles that seemed insurmountable at times. Yet, amidst the waves crashing against the rocks and the sweeping vistas around them, Chris also recognized a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this journey would teach him resilience and strength, shaping him into someone who could honor his father's memory by living fully and embracing each moment. In that realization, he found a sense of purpose intertwined with his grief. As they continued down the winding road, an unspoken bond began to form between Chris and James. The silence in the car was not awkward. Instead, it felt comfortable and filled with a shared understanding that transcended words. Each glance exchanged held the weight of empathy and compassion, as though James could sense the depth of Chris's turmoil. Chris found himself observing James more closely, noting the strength in his demeanor and the calmness in his presence. Here was someone who had faced challenges in life, yet still radiated a sense of warmth and kindness. In that moment, Chris felt less alone, recognizing that even a celebrity like James Dean could empathize with his pain. The peaceful ride along the coast provided a backdrop for their connection, where the crashing waves mirrored Chris's own emotional journey. As they drove further, Chris considered how James had taken time out of his day to offer comfort to a stranger in need. It reminded him that kindness could emerge from unexpected places and that sometimes, sharing silence could be more powerful than any words spoken. In those moments together, Chris felt a flicker of hope for healing, as if this brief ride with James Dean might be a turning point in learning to navigate his grief. Eventually, James slowed the Porsche and pulled over to a serene spot overlooking the coast. The breathtaking view unfolded before them, endless blue ocean meeting the horizon and cliffs adorned with vibrant wildflowers swaying gently in the breeze. A sense of peace filled the air, inviting Chris to take a moment to breathe and reflect. Stepping out of the car, he felt the soft crunch of sand beneath his shoes as he approached the edge. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks was soothing, creating a rhythm that allowed him to momentarily disconnect from his grief. As he stood there, watching the water glisten under the sun, Chris felt a calming energy wash over him. In this beautiful place, surrounded by nature's splendor, memories of his father came flooding back. He imagined them walking along the same stretch of beach, collecting seashells and sharing stories about their dreams. The beauty of the landscape contrasted with his pain but also reminded him of the love they shared. For a fleeting moment, Chris found solace in nature, feeling a connection not just to the ocean, but also to his father. It was a reminder that love endures, flowing like the tide even in times of sorrow. After a few moments of silence, James turned to Chris, sensing the weight of his emotions. "You know," he began softly, "life can throw us some really tough challenges. It's okay to feel lost right now. But what matters is how we choose to move forward." His words hung in the air like a gentle wave lapping at the shore. Chris listened intently, feeling both comforted and inspired by James's perspective. "Your father may not be here physically, but the love and lessons he gave you will always be part of who you are," James continued, his voice steady. "You have the strength to honor his memory by living your life to the fullest, pursuing your dreams and embracing new adventures." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over everything, Chris felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. James's wisdom resonated deeply. It was as if he had given him permission to grieve and heal simultaneously. The road ahead might be uncertain, but through his father's legacy, Chris understood that he could carry forward the love they shared. "Remember," James added with a reassuring smile, "it's okay to take things one day at a time. Just keep moving forward." In those simple moments of encouragement, Chris felt empowered to face whatever lay ahead. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the ocean, Chris felt a profound shift within him. The day had started with unimaginable sorrow, but through the unexpected kindness of James Dean, he found a glimmer of hope that had been missing. This ride was not just about escaping his grief, it became a pivotal moment in his journey toward healing. Chris realized that sometimes, help comes from the most unexpected places. A simple act of compassion from a stranger had reminded him that he was not alone in his pain. The shared silence and heartfelt conversation with James offered him valuable lessons about resilience and moving forward, themes that would resonate deeply as he navigated life without his father. He took a deep breath, feeling lighter as he stood by the coast, surrounded by nature's beauty and warmth. The memories of his father would always remain close to his heart, guiding him in ways he was only beginning to understand. With renewed determination, Chris knew he could honor his father's legacy by embracing life fully, stepping into the future with courage and an open heart. That day marked the beginning of a new chapter, filled with both challenges and possibilities.